everybody. Top of the Sunday morning. Welcome to this baby we call the Sweats. Bringing it to you from our Boston-based studios here on VSiN and DraftKings Network. I'm your host, Emerson Lotz, here for the next 2 hours. Steve Buchanan, Julian Edlow. Top of the morning, gentlemen. How's everyone feeling today? Feeling quite good.
Fresh, dandy.
Yeah, because you had a pretty good day yesterday. A lot of bets you dished out on this show.
A lot of bets.
Hit.
They did well overall.
Yeah, that's
Alabama, right. Providence could have used those ones, but still did all right.
I mean, you had Denver last night. Also,
the Nuggets got
LA,
there.
despite the distraction from LeBron.
And LeBron to get to 40K on a 2-point layup.
My guy is on fire, Steve.
Yeah, I don't bet during basketball season, so it's a quiet night for me.
Makes you wonder what he's doing here.
We are going to talk a lot of baseball with you in the show coming up. Speaking of LeBron, we're going to break down the King hitting 40,000 career points before he hits the age of 40. Home run markets with Bukes looking for power. Second straight year, Aaron Judge, the preseason favorite to be the MLB home run champion. And then Joe Delera of the Action Network going to help us navigate a fun Super Sunday slate around the NBA. I'm told he likes to bet props, Jules. So I'm sure you will have some. I'm sure you will have some award-winning questions about that.
Sure.
But come on, let's work up a sweat, shall we? Let's get all hot and bothered on this Sunday morning. What are you warming up to right now, Bukes? I'd like you to go first because you look beautiful in your forest green this morning.
Yeah, is that what you'd call that?
I would think so.
Yeah.
Or.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
For sure not.
I didn't think
Producer
this
Drew,
was
what are you
forest
talking
green.
about? You guys don't know fashion. Anywho.
I would say this is like a swamp.
A swamp?
Yeah, which is not a bad thing. I think it works fine, I think.
Swamp thing. Go ahead. Give me your warm-up bet.
Yeah, so.
I can only picture Steve crawling out of a swamp now.
That's all I'm thinking of, man.
So on DraftKings Sportsbook, and I'm not just biased here, but our preseason markets are so abundant and really blows all of the books out of the market here for the selections that we have here. But there's one market that just went up the other day that really kind of caught my eye, and I kind of wanted to dive into it a little bit more. And there's a 30-30 market up on DraftKings Sportsbook right now, which means a player to have 30 home runs and 30 stolen bases. Now, if you brought up this market a couple of years ago, probably be kind of useless. 2022 and 2021, we only had 6 players that stole over 30 bases. So the market's pretty, small. Last year, we had 18 players steal at least 30 bases. And then we have a lot of power in this league now. Guys that can realistically make it into this market. So there were a couple of guys that kind of caught my attention here. Kyle Tucker at 4-1 to join the 30-30 club this upcoming season. He's been there over the past 3 years when it comes to home runs. He's had 30, 30, and then 29 last year. He's in the prime of his career now. He's 27 years old. His stolen base numbers continues to climb, and he had that career high 30 stolen bases last year when everybody was stealing bases. Is going to continue this year. You look at his projections coming into this season here, people have him about 30, 31 home runs, so kind of right in that realm there. 4-1, love those odds for Kyle Tucker. Trey Turner is another one that I think is really intriguing. He's all the way at 10-1. Now, the reason why these odds are so long is because Trey Turner's never had 30 home runs in his career. But if you remember last year, the second half that he had, when he absolutely turned it on, had 16 home runs in the second half of the season last year. So while he's never reached that 30 home run mark, he has the potential to do that because the stolen bases have always been there. He's had over 30 stolen bases in 6 of the 9 years that he's been in the major leagues there. So I think this is a cool spot to kind of back some of these guys, get some plus odds, and see if they can make that 30-30 club this year. But a lot of options that you can choose from, but those are guys that stood out here at plus money to reach the 30-30 club.
Remember when Ronald Acuna Jr. hit that grand slam against the Dodgers?
Yep.
I think it was August 31st. He created this power speed club all of his own as the first player with 30 home runs and 60 freaking stolen bases.
Yeah, we're just going to continue to see these numbers climb, and that's why I like this 30-30 club, because truly there are so many guys that have that potential because of the power, and now because everybody's stealing bases at this point.
That feat has been pulled off 69 times in AL/NL history, which is very nice. Now, Jules, hopefully whatever you're warming up to here is also very nice. Do tell.
I'm warming up to today's NBA slate. We haven't had a ton of great NBA cards lately.
God,
Once a show, this happens.
You want some of this?
I'm all set.
Okay.
This NBA card is much better than my voice sounded as I presented it to everyone.
My God.
we haven't had many Sundays, but now with football out of the way, Sixers, Mavericks, Warriors at Celtics, Clippers at Wolves, Knicks at Cavs, and Thunder at Suns. And we have some good storylines. Like the Suns, obviously Booker rolls the ankle, Beal gets ejected. Now you're playing on a back-to-back against OKC. OKC's grown from a 2.5 to a 5.5 point road favorite. Even some off-the-radar games, Charlotte and Toronto. First game for the Raptors without Scotty Barnes since he broke his hand. Potentially a spot to get involved with some player props given how involved Barnes has been with that offense. Recently had a triple-double, so he's kind of been getting some big usage, and Siakam's gone. OG is gone. Like, against a bad Hornets team, there's probably some props that we're going to get into there. So even the lesser games here, and Wembanyama against the Pacers, potentially a good matchup to go after his blocks or his steals and blocks. So even the lesser games have some intriguing player props, and we have a very good handful of primetime games here. The biggest spread of the day in the NBA is a rematch of the 2022 NBA Finals. The Warriors are getting 11.5 right now in Boston this afternoon. Steph Curry questionable with a knee, a big reason why. That should be Celtics in a rout if Curry sits. If Curry's in there, getting double digits is looking pretty good to me. So that's probably a wait and see one, but something that I have backed a lot this season is just that Celtics first half team total at home. They generally come out of the gates very hot in these home games. This is going to be one that has a little extra juice to it with the finals rematch from a couple years ago. They lost in overtime at Golden State in a game they should have won earlier this season. So I like the Celtics with or without Curry. This is a bet that you can make the first half team total for them to come out and score some points.
I see Thunder are in action today, as are the Mavs here, Jules. Could SGA and Luka help their case for MVP, kind of close that gap with Nikola Jokic, who's the favorite right now, minus 150? And we'll talk more about this with a very special guest coming up.
Yeah, I mean, Jokic deserves to be the favorite. Got a primetime win over LeBron and the Lakers last night. That never hurts. Doncic and SGA are extremely valuable to their teams. They're the do-it-all guys. They put up the big numbers. The problem with Dallas will be the seeding. I don't think Dallas can get a high enough seed for Luka to win it. And with OKC, the storyline is going to be, do they hang on to a 1 seed and land 1 or 2? If they land 1 or 2 in the West, SGA is going to be live for MVP. He's going to be in the conversation. But if OKC kind of slides down the stretch here, then there's just not going to be the merit to give him that award if they're sliding down the standings towards the end of the season.
All right, I've got one too. We're going to the golf course. We're going to the final round.
This will be better than your football take, at least.
In Palm Beach Gardens. Yeah, I know a little bit more about golf. Feel a little bit more confident about this one. Minwoo Lee outright here. Few shots back to start the final round. You look at the top of this leaderboard. You got guys like Shane Lowry, who's trying to attempt to break a winless drought in the United States dating back to 2015. Oh, there's 42-year-old David Skins. Who's that? Yeah. He hasn't made a cut on tour since 2022. His best career finish, T29. So he's tied for the lead there. Austin Eckroat is trying to win his first career tournament in 50 career starts here. Top of the leaderboard, has not done a ton of winning here, gentlemen, in recent memory. So let's get creative. Let's go to plus 1,200 for Minwoo Lee to win this thing outright. Lee's a player, got tons of firepower, has been performing strong form from tee to green all week. Finally found his putter yesterday, one of his better clubs typically. And if that continues into today's round, he's going to give the leaders a good scare from 3 back at 12-1 odds. Also a good live betting opportunity as the 3-hole stretch, 15, 16, and 17 at PGA National, one of the toughest 3-hole stretches in golf. It's known as the Bear Trap. You know how tough it is? You have Rory McIlroy, as one of the best golfers on planet Earth yesterday, goes in there, craps himself, and goes 4 over on a 3-hole stretch. It can make or break a champion here at PGA National year in and year out. We saw it for decades when this thing was called the Honda Classic. Now it's the Cognizant. So Minwoo Lee dialed in, looking for his first career victory. He's got a swagger to him that is unmatched as well, one of the more fun players on tour. And if you don't like those plus 1,200 odds, strongly considered top 5 for plus 150. I grabbed it top 5 from Minwoo Lee, plus 415 earlier in the week. So it's going to be fun. This week's field only has one player from the world's top 20. It's considerably weaker. Minwoo Lee, great position to climb up the leaderboard, close the gap, and win today's Cognizant Classic.
Would you say that the bear trap is more difficult than your friend's par 3 course at the airport in Arizona?
Actually, yeah, I would say that.
Okay.
That's a great one. Rolling Hills.
Just a question from a casual golf fan over here.
Yeah, that's right. You've been begging me to ask you to play golf with me throughout summer, every year that we've known each other for 6-7 years now. And I have a feeling this summer will be the year that you and I connect, we get together, we'll play some golf with Samir, as long as he's not upset with Chick-fil-A for screwing up the sauces in his order.
We got to do something real quick.
What's that? What's wrong?
So this is Forest Green.
What is this?
This is
That's Forest Green?
Yeah.
Well, what I do know is that doesn't match. So Steve's must be Swamp Green.
It depends on what forest we're in. Because that can still be.
I don't think so.
Still be a forest.
I don't think you're a Florida guy. You should know the color of swamps.
If we're in Fern Gully, that's Forest Green. All right, coming up here, can Hurley...
Hopefully some stronger content than Steve's shirt color.
All right, Dan Hurley has helped rebuild UConn's championship-level culture. They have revenge on the mind. Will they get it? Let's talk
He's
some
a coward
college
for
hoops.
leaving the Rhode Island Rams.
Mark your calendars, folks. 15 days from today, we will be bringing you an NCAA tournament special. This will be Monday, March 18th from 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. That is the Monday following Selection Sunday, so there'll be a lot to break down. You will hopefully be here. breaking it down.
I'll be here.
Yeah. Oh, really? You were that confident, huh? That you're included in this show? Okay,
Yep.
big man. Well, I'm excited for that. I'm excited for this block here because, March has arrived. We are, the month is showcasing. It just tipped off with tons and tons of great games here, pitting top 25 teams in the AP. So some of the results from yesterday: Tennessee gutted out, nice little win against Alabama, right? So
Fortunately, yes.
they've taken over first place in the SEC. Creighton beat a shorthanded Marquette team. Baylor holding off Kansas. Houston with a last-minute clutch shot to hold off and survive Oklahoma. So this is just the tip of the iceberg here. But let's start with Providence and Villanova, because less than 1 month ago here, Jules, Villanova was 12-11, right? And well on its way to missing the tournament again. But since then, it has won 5 of 6 with victories over fellow bubble teams like Butler, Seton Hall, and now Providence. So how much will this be considered in the eyes of the committee when it comes selection time?
Big one, and I've been saying Villanova's a really good team. Like net rating, Ken Palm-wise, how they grade out, Villanova's really good. The problem with why they wouldn't get in is what they did earlier in the season. They have great wins. They beat UNC. Like they have some good wins. They just played down to the level of their competition. Some really bad losses. They lost to Penn, St. Joe's, and Drexel, all in Philly. That's going to keep them out unless they have really impressive wins. And now they're getting those impressive wins. They're beating all the teams that they're on the bubble with because they're the better team. And now that has, in our March Madness bubble props tab, Villanova is a minus 240 yes to make the tournament. Providence, which was more of a coin flip, is now plus 225 to get in, minus 285 to miss. So that was essentially a tournament game yesterday between Villanova and Providence, and Villanova came into PC and shot 13 of 23 from downtown on the road in a really tough building to play and won that game. So that was pretty impressive for Villanova and puts them on the right side of the bubble now. Providence is going to have one last little crack to try and make it. Obviously, you could win the Big East tournament and get in, but they're going to play UConn. They're going to host UConn. If they can win that game, they're suddenly looking a lot better, but that's obviously a tall task.
All right, Jules, Providence may be on the outside looking in right now, but on the DK Sportsbook, we're already ready for tournament time. So we have buzzer beater odds for the first 3 rounds set and ready to rock. There was a hell of a buzzer beater yesterday at Western Michigan, stunning Ball State.
Yeah.
That was insane. I've never seen something like that before. So
Ball just kind of bounced down the court and into the...
It's weird how balls bounce in basketball, for sure.
Yeah.
So let's go back to the Zags, because we talked about them a lot yesterday on this show, and essentially that was a tournament game for them, right? And a huge win for them over their biggest rival. Yeah,
I'm a little mad at myself that I didn't see that one and get on the Zags.
We're all mad at you.
Bought into, most people generally are. I bought into the momentum with St. Mary's, the undefeated conference season. It was a great revenge spot for the Zags, for the Gales, getting them at their place, and then they kind of got a win to get into the tournament. They're coming off a really good second half at San Francisco on Thursday night. So Gonzaga absolutely did what they needed to do to secure a spot, and they're going to be, a 7-8 seed that is going to be a difficult matchup for somebody, depending on who they get, if they can win a game and get into the second round. I tend to believe Gonzaga will revert to what they've been this season and come undone in that game, and I'll be taking the higher seed and laying some points there, but we'll see how it shakes out.
All right, you nailed your Baylor bet yesterday, too.
Yep.
And with that win over the Jayhawks, Kansas now has 7 conference losses for the first time in the Bill Self era. KU's worst conference season in terms of winning percentage since the 88-89 campaign. Did you learn more about Baylor? Did you learn more about Kansas with that result?
Baylor should have won that game and did. It was a great spot for Baylor, so I don't feel like I learned much about them. I knew that they were fully capable of doing that. I guess it just reinforced the reason I was going against Kansas. That this team is not one of Bill Self's better Kansas teams. They have pieces on the surface, like McCullough wound up playing and playing well. If he didn't play, that's a blowout for Baylor. So he's a solid piece to have out there. The big guy, Hunter Dickinson, is a great piece. Harris is, that veteran point guard. Like, it looks like they have the pieces, but they don't have the shooting and they don't have the depth, and you need those things to win in March. You see when Bill Self goes to the bench how quickly things come undone. And when kids like the freshman Furphy isn't knocking down threes, nobody else can knock down threes. I think Jeff Goodman tweeted it out that Kansas, if you take away Furphy, their best shooter, they're a 29% three-point team. So Kansas just doesn't have some of the things that you need to win in March. And I think they can handle some lesser teams, but I think we'll see that play out in both the Big 12 tournament and the NCAA tournament when they are in the wrong matchups.
Let's get to today. Seton Hall and UConn meet for the second time this year. Jules, Huskies looking for revenge after the Pirates, after losing to them. That was by 15 points, their first matchup of the season. That was back on December 20th. Huskies went into the Prudential Center as 7.5-point favorites in that game. Do they get that revenge today?
Absolutely, and that was I think that was the first Big East game of the season for UConn. And it kind of looked like, you'll remember, this UConn team. The reason they were a 4 seed last year is because they kind of came undone in Big East conference play, particularly on the road. And it looked like, are they going to be in that same situation this year? Not the case. UConn has been dominant since, but they're going to be looking for revenge on this one. Like you mentioned, Emerson, Seton Hall won that game by 15. What's the number today? UConn laying 15 at home. I am going UConn first half here. I'm laying the 8.5 with the Huskies. I laid the first half with them against Villanova. I think it was last Saturday night, in a good spot for the Huskies coming off that Creighton loss. I like them to come out of the gates hot when they have revenge on their mind at home. I guess I wish it was a Saturday night game over a Sunday afternoon game, but still, they'll be ready for this one. They remember what happened in Jersey. They're going to come out hot, lead by double digits at the break. Is
Indiana surprisingly large underdog at Maryland in your eyes here? 9 points.
Given how slow Maryland plays and their scoring struggles at times, yes, I would lean Indiana, but Indiana can't be trusted right now. They've been getting destroyed, getting beat at home in games that they should win. Then what do? Of course, they come out and upset Wisconsin in a game that nobody thought they could win. I'm not buying into the momentum, though. Indiana's just not good right now.
Like, given the size of the spread, don't you think it offers more value for the road team than the money line, though, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, if I'm taking a side in the game, I'll take the 9 points. Yeah. And the reason why I would do that is because I actually am taking something in this game, which would be under 136.
Interesting.
So with the under 136, obviously that would correlate with the dog if you wanted a side. But Maryland, just like I said, slow pace. We played them last weekend on a first half under at Rutgers, stayed well clear of that, even though Maryland did their fair share of scoring. They're a good defensive team. They're a slow-paced team that struggles to score. I think with bringing Indiana into their building, not exactly a team that lights it up in the Hoosiers. This one should be relatively low scoring. Did this just go down from 136 to 134.5 while we were talking?
Yep. This is the power that we have here on the Sweat. Absolutely, it certainly does. It's 134.5. I'm looking at it on the DK Sportsbook right now.
It was 136 when I started speaking, so you're
That's
welcome,
crazy,
whoever
dude.
out there just mashed that.
Dude, just guys mashing bets on the DK Sportsbook.
That's what dudes do.
What's better than that? How about this? What's better than rivalries in just college sports in general? And as we finish the season, do you generally, and I'm asking you this because you have Michigan and Ohio State, right, going at it, do you generally favor the home team in unranked rivalry games? What is your approach to situations like this?
Game-by-game case. This one has already gone from single digits up to double digits. We're at 11 now. Ohio State's been playing really well. Not well enough for me to lay 11 points with them against anyone. Since the coach firing, they've gone 3-1. They have road win over Michigan State. They upset Purdue at home in their first game after making the move. So they're playing really well, but I can't lay 11 with them against anyone. But it does speak to how bad Michigan is. I used Rutgers as a home moneyline parlay piece against Michigan on whatever it was, Wednesday or Thursday night, and Michigan lost by 30 at Rutgers. So they're playing awful right now. Ohio State's going to win this game.
Yeah, and Ohio State's covered the spread in back-to-back outings in 5-1 ATS in their last 6. They've also covered the spread in each of their last 4 wins against Michigan.
Yeah, it's just a really big number. Again, Big Ten game Sunday afternoon. I would probably look under. 143 is a pretty high total there.
Before we go to break, just real quick, going back to Marquette, how important, they were short-handed yesterday, how important is their star to their production and their future?
Yeah, not just Tyler Kolek, who's arguably the best point guard in the country, but their starting center was also out. So the ball is in Kolek's hands every play when he's out there. Half of those plays are a pick and roll with the center.
Yeah.
So, just not enough pieces. Creighton won by, 15? They should have won that game going away and should have been in control for longer in that game.
All right, good stuff, Jules. Coming up next, who's got the power? Shohei Ohtani does. He also has a dog and now a wife. How much Steve likes his odds to lead the majors in home runs this season, plus a few other names to consider betting in this market. A lot of you guys, a lot of the viewers watching right now have been emailing me asking, hey, who led the majors last year in home runs? Well, we have a fancy graphic to answer that question for you. That was Matt Olson there in Atlanta with 54. And then Mr. Schwarbaum, Steve Buchanan, right behind him at 47 last season. Pete Alonso, 46. Brohei Ohtani there, 44. Now still in Cali, Southern Cal, but wearing Dodger blue. But you look at the odds board, Steve, as we continue to shop all of the MLB markets on DraftKings Sportsbook. Home run leader this year, Steve. Second straight year, Aaron Judge is at the top of the board here, and Olson, who led last year, right behind him there. But we're going to start. We're going to start with a guy who Eric Hosmer on this show yesterday live said he likes him for MVP. And that's because a whole season for Fernando Tatis Jr. Able to have been focusing on baseball, training, none of the funny business and all that stuff. So why would you like to talk about him?
Yeah, so I think we're finally going to get a clean season out of Tatis. We're over the shoulder injury. We're over the wrist injury. We're over the PED suspension. I think he's done with motorcycles. Hopefully he's Ubering to the ballpark every time that he plays
just
at this
Uber,
point.
Dude.
Like, let's just have a clean season. So his number for this season is set at 34.5. Now, this feels like a big number when you consider last year. He only ended up with 25 home runs. But you look at the majority of the projections for him coming up to the season, they have him surpassing this number. And there's like really 5 projection systems that I like to take a look at. And the average of those have him coming out to 37. So obviously that's a play for the over here. If pitchers are smart, they start throwing this guy some off-speed stuff because he has just 6 total home runs over the past 2 years against that pitch because obviously he didn't play in 2022. This is looking at 2021 and 2023. But fastballs, breaking pitches, he's like almost equally crushing those type of pitches for power here. We haven't seen the full 162 games from Tatis yet. The most he's played was 141 from last year. And like I mentioned, he only had 25. Really started slumping in the second half of that season there. But he said after the season was over, he never felt like he found his swing during the year. He felt like he was always off here. So hopefully we're seeing a better Fernando Tatis coming into this year. But regardless of if he's hitting first or second in this Padres offense, it is very top heavy. The bottom half of that Padres offense is not looking good, but the top half there is very heavy. He's still going to be seeing those fastballs, still be able to get some of his best pitches, get him out of Petco Park here. I like him to go over 34.5 home runs this upcoming season.
Okay, now let's go to a guy who, and Fernando Tatis was plus 1,900 to lead the majors in home runs. We're going to go down the board here to a guy who's plus 5,500 here and whose total is set at 29.5. Who is that?
That is Luis Robert, who I still think has one of the best swings in Major League Baseball. The thing is just a thing of beauty. But we finally had the coming out party for Luis Robert last year. First time he's played more than 98 games in a season, and he responded with 38 home runs. Since he came up in the league in 2020, because obviously that was the COVID year, he was on pace for 32 home runs, 31 home runs, only 20 in 2022, but injuries played a huge factor for him in that season. Again, you look at the projection system, they have him going for an average of 31 home runs, so again, he's hitting the over on that number here. The big difference with Luis Robert, he made a small adjustment that last season, and it's made all the world of difference. He closed up his batting stance, and that has made a tremendous difference here. And this is somebody who's very aggressive at the plate. 21 of his home runs last year came after he started 0-1 in the count. So he's still swinging freely, going for the fences, and I like this guy to go over his home run total once again. And just to put this into perspective, Matt Olson last year, who had 54, had 21 home runs after 0-1. That's only 38% of his home runs last year. Just goes to show how aggressive Robert is, even when he's down in the count there. Robert was over half of the home runs that he had last year. I think this is a great opportunity to back him here. And honestly, with the way that the White Sox are, just trade this man to a better ballpark. Imagine this guy in like Great American Ballpark. He would be hitting 40-plus home runs each and every year. But give me over 29.5 for him this upcoming season.
Some people say the A's should trade all of their good players, whichever good players that they have left, set them free, unless they want to stick around and go to Vegas here in a couple of years. Brent Brooker, his over-under total is 24.5.
Yep.
Last year, Steve, the guy hits 30 home runs.
Yeah.
How will he follow his breakout season? We're talking the DH there for Oakland.
Yep, I think he's going under in this upcoming season here. The projections have him at 25, which is right where he needs to land to hit the over in this one here. It's not like his position's in danger. It's not like he's going to be losing his spot in the lineup. He's going to get plenty of at-bats, and he's entrenched in the middle of that A's lineup. That being said, like, he has flashed some power before. If you look back at his numbers in the minors, he had 22 home runs through 130 games in Double-A back in 2018. But how will pitchers attack him this upcoming year? Because of his 30 home runs that he had last year, 23 came off of fastballs. But he really, really struggles against breaking and off speed. So basically, anything other than a fastball, Rooker's numbers were horrendous last year, and he really swings and misses a ton. He had a 53% whiff rate on both breaking and off-speed pitches last year. So if they're throwing him really anything other than a fastball, that's the formula really to get Rooker out here. So he had a great season last year. 30 home runs is an amazing feat for somebody who really, coming into that season, I think had 9 total home runs in the majors. Now, he wasn't getting a ton of at-bats or anything, but still, that is a massive upswing for him coming from where he was. So I just think he's going to be going under this number here of 24.5. It's pretty telling for somebody who had 30 home runs last year that his over-under for this year is almost 6 home runs less. I still like the under on this one. I think he's going to be in like that 20 home run range, but I think he's going under that 24.5.
Okay, so let's go to the Windy City now then.
Yep.
Chicago. So Christopher Morel, 26 and a half. This is total on the DK Sportsbook for home runs hit in the 2024 season. So based off my 5 minutes of research here,
Yep, good.
this guy, the Cubs, this is like another chance for the Cubs to kind of turn this raw power hitter. He's got a ton of charisma into the future of their franchise. They're super high on this guy, Steve.
They are. And the number on him, I feel like, is high as well. Like, if you look at the average for those systems that I like to look at here, they have him at 24 home runs, which is a couple under the under here for what you would need. You know, we talked about Rooker showing some power in the minors. We never really got that from Christopher Morel, which kind of seems like that this last season was a little bit of an outlier here. He had 17 through 101 games in the minors in 2021, which had him on pace for 26 for a full season. So if this was the number here in the minors, you'd be cashing the under, you know, really by the skin of your teeth here. But I really feel like 2023 kind of felt like an outlier here for somebody that has such an inflated number now of 26 and a half. The other thing that's really a knock on Morel for me is he doesn't have that opposite field power. Only 2 home runs went to right field last year. And if you're kind of hitting these inflated number here, you want to kind of be spraying the ball all throughout the field to kind of cash these here. Like Matt Olson is a perfect example. You look at the 54 home runs he had last year. It is going all across the ballparks, no matter where he's playing. They're going to right, they're going to left, they're going to center. You're really not getting that with Christopher Morel. So I feel like this is a number that's just really inflated here. Some of these off-season, preseason numbers can be inflated. There's so many markets on DraftKings Sportsbook, they're not going to be nailing all these numbers here. This feels like a number that you can take advantage of here. Morel's going to go out there. He's going to chase a lot of pitches. He's really bad with pitches that are down and away. He chases all those a lot. I think under 26.5 is going to be the play here for Christopher Morel.
All right, to the AL East we go. To the defending AL East champions we go. To the face of the Baltimore Orioles we go. For Adley Rutschman, whose shoulders are so wide, some people probably see him walking around and think he's a linebacker there for the Ravens. He's a big dude, young kid, and he's got some power as well.
Yeah, he does. So this one here, the projections actually like him to go under his number of 20 and a half. I do like him to go over. This is one where I kind of disagree with the projections here.
Good for you.
Thank you very much. You got to have an opinion. You know, if you don't have an opinion on the show, then, you know.
That's why Jules isn't on this segment.
That's right. He's off. But what I like about Adley Rutschman is he's a switch hitter, and he's a switch hitter with power. So he can take advantage of right field in Camden Yards. If you remember a couple of years ago, they extended the wall in left field in Camden Yards, and it has really been taking away a lot of the power of some of these right-handed bats because that wall has been extended so much here. But Adley can go either way at Camden Yards, and that's where he can take advantage of here. Last year, he had 10 home runs at home versus a right-handed pitcher. Overall, 11 home runs as a lefty, 2 to right field, and that's where I think I want to see him take advantage this upcoming year. That lineup is just stacked from top to bottom with guys that can hit for power. He's going to get plenty of protection in that lineup, whether it's Anthony Santander, if it's Colton Cowser, if he ends up playing, like whoever is protecting him in that lineup, Gunnar Henderson, Jackson Holliday, he's going to see plenty of pitches, plenty of fastballs. He was hitting fastballs for home runs, as you'd expect here for someone who has a nice power swing. But I think Adley Rutschman over 20.5, even though the projections disagree. I like him to go over that number this upcoming season.
Why does everything he does look so effortless and so easy?
I mean, that's why he's one of their many top prospects that they have come through the system. He's a stud.
You probably like the Orioles at plus 205 over the Yankees, plus 165.
I think that's one of the biggest mismatches for the division winner. I don't see how the Yankees are going to do it. They brought in Juan Soto. I like it. The rest of that lineup, I think it's going to be trouble.
Yeah, I know you said on yesterday's show you're not as high on the Yankees as it feels like everybody else is. All right, we'll see coming up how high Julian is on Luka tonight and other hot spots on this NBA slate. NBA shoot-arounds next. games on tonight's NBA slate. Jules is absolutely fired up for said 8 games on today's NBA slate. Here's 4 of them here. We're going to split it up into 2 halves during this block. So Warriors-Celtics will be 3:30 this afternoon. Celtics, you're a big green teamer here. And you mentioned at the top of the show, biggest spread on this slate today as well. So it is now the Warriors getting 11 points in Boston.
Touched as high as 12. I assume Curry's going to play in this game, but he is questionable.
Yeah, what is
His
that
props
with?
are up on DK Sportsbook,
Okay.
which is generally
A good sign.
a little telling.
A good sign. Okay, so then are you going to target one of his props here? Do you have any confidence in Curry just firing away as the best shooter in NBA?
I am not. What I am going to do, we don't have halves up on DK Sportsbook yet, but generally with the Celtics, I back them on the first half team total over. They're the highest scoring first half team in the NBA. They're the highest scoring first half home team in the NBA. If you look at the Warriors, they're about league average in terms of first half defense. But it's more just how the Celtics come out of the gates. They're at home. They're always favored at home. They're generally a heavy favorite at home. But they come out with their foot on the gas, and we've seen them let go of the rope, whether it's still holding on to a big lead or blowing a game down the stretch of some of these games. But they always come out and have a big first half. They went over their first half team total on Friday night against Dallas. I think they had 38 first quarter points. They really should have gotten there with much more ease than they ultimately did. But this is kind of a, regardless of matchup, the team total in the first half for the Celtics has been a wagon this season. So I think that's a good play that does not really have anything to do with Curry's status that you can play in this game. The number might fluctuate a little bit when we eventually do get that Curry news, but I will go, when we get it, to the Celtics first half team total over in this game.
Would you consider, just with it such a large spread, would you consider sprinkling something on the Warriors there if Curry plays? Because Warriors have played pretty well on the road as of late, Joel, since February 5th. They've lost 2 games. Both those were at home, but they're 8-0 straight up and ATS on the road.
I'll probably ultimately pass on the game just because, I mean, the public agrees with you, and you're a mush. We know this, so like that makes sense.
Johnny Mush.
We got 69% of the bets for 76% of the money on the Warriors getting all those points. You look at it, you say the Warriors getting double digits doesn't feel right. So it kind of tells me that if this stays up in double digits, and it could drop down below if Curry's ruled in, and this could get to single digits. It kind of tells me that the Celtics should be in a blowout spot here. And they have motivation to do so with the finals, with how they've played against the Warriors since the finals. They need to getting over the hump game against this team. Not just a win, but a win with margin. So I'm probably going to stay away overall. But like if you tell me Curry's playing and you can get 11.5, I'm not going to argue with you there. You can probably buy back on some of your bet at a better number at some point in the game if you wanted to.
Just one other game on that graphic that we showed everybody. That's going to be the Thunder and the Suns. So the Thunder are a half game out of first place in the West. You have the Suns sitting there in the 6th seed currently. Booker injuring his ankle last night. But I feel like that ankle injury is overshadowing some bigger problems, and I think we saw a lot of that in that loss to Houston last night. What is the number one problem for the Suns right now in trying to consistently put wins together with some of the biggest names in the NBA on that roster?
Yeah, they can't consistently put wins together with the biggest names in the NBA on that roster because they can't consistently put the biggest names on that roster on the floor together. Simple, right?
Saw Beal getting a little spicy last night, taking a ball and just knocking dudes around, punching dudes in the face. More chippiness in the second half of
That'll
the
get you ejected, as it did. And Booker, I assume, will not play with that ankle. And we have Phoenix going from a 2.5-point dog to a 5.5-point home dog here in anticipation of guys sitting on this back-to-back. And OKC comes in healthy. And as you would imagine, 77% of the bets for 96% of the handle on the OKC side here. So this might be one of those ones where, hey, the number moved, you didn't get the best of the number, but you still go with it. This could be an ugly one for the Suns depending on who's out there. It's a 9:30 tip. It's the last tip of the day, so we got to wait a little bit for that news. But this would still be OKC or pass for me even at that number.
Okay, here are the other 4 games on this slate tonight. Again, we mentioned going into break, you got Luka and the Mavs in action, the number 1 seed currently in the West. The Timberwolves will be hosting the Clippers, who are the 4 seed. So there are some meaty matchups here, Jules, out West. What is a bet you like among these 4 games right here? What direction do you want to take us in?
Yeah, well, Clippers-Wolves is definitely the best game of that bunch. And the Timberwolves are playing okay, not great, coming out of the break. They're coming off that overtime loss to the Kings where Malik Monk went nuts against them. Maybe a bounce-back spot. But the Clippers kind of need to get it together, too. They haven't been playing their best coming out of the break either. They bounced back from the fourth quarter collapse against the Lakers where LeBron took them down. They bounced back with that with a comfortable 25-point win over the Wizards, but that doesn't necessarily say much. This is more of a prove-it game for them against a Timberwolves team that they've struggled with at times this season.
Is Edwards going to go here?
I believe that they'll be close to full strength, but the last time they played in Minnesota won by 4.
Yep.
I believe in the Clippers and their talent, and that Minnesota could come undone a little bit here down the stretch. So I think this is a spot in essentially a pick'em game. I will go with the Clippers here on the road.
Okay. The Clippers have cooled off over the last 2 weeks, too. They're just 1-4 ATS in their last 5 games. You a little nervous about that?
No, I'll buy low. That's what we're doing.
That's exactly. What other bets do you have on that 4-game slate? Because I know you said that you like those 4 games we just showed the folks at home more than the first 4.
Yeah, I think that Charlotte and Toronto is a really interesting game from a prop perspective. Is that funny?
No, producer Drew said something in my ear, and I'm bad at hiding it. He goes, "That's why we call you Julian Bilo." And I agree. I thought that was very clever, Drew. We got to get Drew his own camera in the back and his mic, so everyone can see that beautiful face.
Producers chime in to shows like this.
Yeah, I love them.
No Scotty Barnes is a big deal here. Scotty Barnes has been getting a ton of usage for this team, particularly after they move on from OG and Pascal Siakam. They've been running that through Barnes. That's their young stud that they want to build this team around. Now with him out, things are going to get a little tougher. So where's that usage going to go? We have Gary Trent at 13.5 points. He should get a lot more opportunities. RJ Barrett's at 22.5 points. He should get more scoring opportunities. Where I really want to look here is Emmanuel Quickley, and we'll go to him on the combo, points, rebounds, and assists. Emmanuel Quickley over 32.5 is, I think, where I'm ultimately going to land here. You go back to the last game that Barnes got hurt in, and Quickley played 37 minutes. He only had 12 points, but 11 assists and 5 rebounds. He was active in that game. The game before the loss to the Mavericks, Quickley played really well. 28 points, 9 assists, 5 rebounds, and that was in a game where Scotty Barnes played 37 minutes and totaled 37 points, rebounds, and assists himself. So in a matchup against Charlotte, poor team, this is a spot that Toronto should control the game, and a lot of that usage from Barnes is likely going to trickle down to Quickley. I think Emmanuel Quickley is the way to target this game.
Which teams can help and kind of hurt their seeding the most today, or making their playoff case to the people around the country?
Well, even though it's not a big standings game at all, like the Celtics are going to run away with the Eastern Conference, it looks like, and the Warriors are battling for their, play-in potential seeding. I think that's a statement game for the Celtics, just because even since losing to the Warriors in the finals, they haven't played well against them. Like they've had a couple games in hand that they should have won and that they've let go. And the one that they won last year at home in Boston, they probably shouldn't have. They pulled that game out of nowhere. So I think it's an important game for the Celtics to play well, and an important game for the Warriors to try and improve their seeding, even though, standings-wise, it's not the closest one. Knicks and Cavs are 4.5 games apart in the East. Cavs are 2, Knicks are 4. That's a game for seeding. And then out West, Timberwolves are the 1 seed, Clippers are the 4 seed, but those top 4 seeds in the West are only separated by 3 games. It's been as tight as 1.5 games at times. So that's a game seeding-wise that does mean a lot. The Clippers looking to pick up a full game on Minnesota there if they can get that win.
Are you still a big believer in there is not really a team in the East who can stop Boston from getting to the NBA final? And if something prevents them from winning Banner 18, it's going to be the team out of the West that they play on the final stage?
Yeah, as long as the Celtics are healthy, I will be betting them at right around even money to win the Eastern Conference if they're healthy when the playoffs tip off. Respect to the Cavs, the Knicks, the Sixers. Those teams can't cut it when the Celtics are at their best. Bucks are the only team at a talent level that can compete, but I don't think they have the defense. I don't think they have the coach.
Wow.
Out on Milwaukee.
Don't you like Doc for what he did here in Boston?
Celtics would have won with me as a 21-year-old college student coaching that team.
I'm glad you said something. My minor in college was coaching.
Wow.
Kind of
What are you going to do with that?
Kind of a big deal. Yeah, do with that information what you will,
That
folks.
can't be true.
All right, we have more NBA questions to be answered. Some big storylines to tackle here, especially about LeBron. How betting the only dude to score 40,000 points in NBA history moving forward. Joe Delera of the Action Network will join the program next. Second hour of The Sweat is underway, ladies and gentlemen. It's good to have you here on VSiN or DraftKings Network, however you're watching us, wherever you're watching us. We love you for watching us. I'm Emerson Latzia, Julian Edlow, Steve Buchanan. We'll be back later in the show for some head-to-head home run props. We're going to talk some golf. We will talk some NHL, but right now we're going back to the NBA, and we have a very special guest with us, Joe Delera of the Action Network, who came highly recommended by Julian Edlow here. So
Wow,
a lot of
somehow
pressure.
put the pressure on me here.
A lot of pressure here on you, Joe. Good morning, dude.
Hey, good morning, guys. I can't let Julian down, can't let you guys down, so let's have a good day.
Yeah.
I'll even start us off here because we ended the get out of here, host. We ended the last segment, Joe. I was breaking down points, rebounds, assists for Emmanuel Quickly in that first game with Scotty Barnes now out, and I just went to your Twitter page to see what you were on today, and the first thing I see is Emmanuel Quickly over those 11 and a half.
What a
you went rebounds and assists.
Yep.
I assume this is just heavily related to usage. You take Barnes out, Quickly is going to be the guy, and we're going up against a bad Hornets team here. But how do you want to break this one down? Because I think Quickly props moving forward. We'll see how long it takes to catch up, but he's going to play a huge role without Barnes.
100%. A big thing is, too, his assist spike without Scotty Barnes. He's averaging almost 7.5 assists per 36 without Scotty Barnes. So just from an assist perspective, we should be able to see an uptick there. I like the RA. I like the combo prop because one of the things that he was able to do, like without Brunson in New York. So I'm a big Knicks fan. I was watching a lot of Emmanuel Quickly. And one of the things that I noticed in the games that Brunson couldn't go over the last couple of seasons is not only did he see his scoring spike, but he was averaging 6.4 assists and 5.8 rebounds in 14 games. So I like the opportunity there to take on a bigger role as a scorer, facilitator, and a rebounder. And honestly, like when I was looking at the stuff in New York, a lot of those games still had Julius Randle, who was a massive usage player, right? So now looking at Toronto, they really don't have anybody that's of that same ilk, of that same level of talent. So they obviously have RJ Barrett, who should absorb some of the usage as well. But I think that with this Toronto team, I could see Emmanuel Quickly grabbing a lot of rebounds, trying to kickstart the offense in a fast break because he likes to kind of play with some pace. So I liked both the rebounds and the assists here. I think the points was like a touch inflated for something that I liked, but I did like the combo prop to kind of get and capture all of the usage. So I think that a PRA is fine. I just happen to prefer the RA in this instance.
And Jay, we have Joe rather. Sorry, I don't.
Jay?
Yeah. This is. Well, I meant Jay as the initial. Because we're so tight.
This is embarrassing.
Yeah, thank you. Last night, LeBron hitting 40K here, dude. So he's on this scoring spree. He's still playing at this ridiculous level. He's going to be 40 in the month of December. We know that the team is fighting for their postseason lives still at the same time as LeBron consistently makes history. It feels like night in and night out. How have you approached betting the Lakers and LeBron props throughout this season?
Lakers are tough because I feel like you always are paying a premium to bet on the Lakers and to bet on LeBron. A big thing with LeBron, though, has been, everybody always wants to bet on his points. I think that the best angle a lot of times for betting on LeBron is through his either rebounds or through his assists. You can kind of tell like some of the games where he's going to get up. And I feel like those are games where he usually wants to kind of get his teammates involved. So I do like to bet on his rebounds. I like to bet on his assists. I think it's a good angle to, try to capitalize on what he's able to do. I've been surprised, honestly, on the year. He really hasn't been that same type of triple-double threat that he was in previous seasons. Usually it's like if he puts up the rebounds or the assists, then, he's missing in the other one. I do think the Lakers are in a very tough spot as they're trying to climb up the Western Conference. The West is just an absolute gauntlet. So I'm curious to see. I don't really think they're going to drop out of the play-in, but I'm curious to see, looking forward, just how much they're going to press to try to get maybe into the 7-8 spot of the bracket to maybe get 2 cracks at the apple in the play-in. But I think as long as they probably feel like as long as they can get in, if it's Minnesota or if it's Oklahoma City at the top, they're playing a relatively inexperienced team. I think that they might feel comfortable just going in with full health, as comfortable as you can be coming from maybe like the 8 or the 7 seed going in the West.
Joe, I wouldn't be surprised if he played basketball until he was 45 in the NBA. If I set his age total at 42 and a half, would you take under or over that?
I think I might. I selfishly want to take the over.
Me
just 'cause I
too.
want to be able to see him play as much as possible. We'll see. What he winds up doing. It sounds like he wants to stay in LA, but we'll see what they wind up doing this offseason. They got 3 picks that they'll be able to trade this offseason as opposed to just the one that they had had they tried to make a move at the trade deadline. So we might see a different Lakers team, and maybe that helps some of the longevity there.
Yeah, future home of Bronny, maybe.
Yeah, we'll see about that.
Yeah.
All right, Joe, I want to talk to you about a game I saw that you bet last night. You got ahead of the number here. Tough night for Phoenix. Beal gets ejected. Booker rolls an ankle. Now they're on the back-to-back. They're at home here, but they have OKC. I think you got it at 2.5 last night. It's been moving as it should with the Phoenix news. 5.5 now. What are you anticipating here in terms of news? What are you comfortable laying if you're somebody waking up looking to bet this game? Because this one has the potential to be a game where the wheels really fall off for the Suns if we get the lineup news that we're kind of anticipating. So I would probably still be comfortable with the 5.5 on OKC, but at this point we can probably wait and see where the news cycle goes.
Yeah, I agree with you in terms of waiting. I think that the line kind of moved already, right? Because it was at -2 last night, and then it moved to -2.5, -3, and then there were even some -3.5s in the market. The biggest concern that I have is I was watching that Phoenix game last night, and when Booker turned that ankle, he was on the ground for a minute. The play went on, and then he just hobbled his way off of the court. And the problem with that is I don't know who they're going to have available. Bradley Beal, he played some limited minutes. He got ejected. I'd be a little surprised if he plays in a back-to-back here, especially in a tough game against Oklahoma City. It might be a game they decide they want to punt. If they don't have Booker, they don't have Beal, and they don't have Durant on the floor just because he can't play 48 minutes a game, this team is a -23.1 in points per 100. They are bad. They just have nobody else outside of those 3. And the biggest thing for them on the season has been Vogel has been able to stagger at least so that they generally have one of those guys on the floor. Once you start seeing injuries or guys that can't play or whatever, just due to the rotations, that's when Phoenix really gets exposed. Oklahoma City does not have those same problems. I think that I'd still be comfortable laying a 5.5 or a 6, especially if Booker can't go. And honestly, even if Beal can go, I would be stunned to see him play a full allotment of minutes, even though he got ejected yesterday. Played, some minutes in the first half, but I would still be generally pretty surprised to see him play, more than 25 minutes or anything like that. So you're going to see a lot of bench minutes here, especially on the back-to-back. So I'd be pretty comfortable backing Oklahoma City in this spot.
And Joe, as we start to see some of these NBA stars age out, at least eventually, maybe one day LeBron will not play. We're also seeing a lot of young studs come in, including these rookies. You got Holmgren, you have Wembanyama here, or Chemby, as Golick Jr. calls him when he combines their names. We saw them square off earlier this week. So Wemby's pulled away for Rookie of the Year odds, right? I mean, at one point this year, he was plus money in that department. Yeah. How do you approach awards futures here during the year? That one seems to almost be locked up, which I think you could still make an argument for Chet deserving it. But this year's MVP race is also still an interesting bet.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, MVP is fascinating. With Joel Embiid was dynamite until he got hurt, and I think it was his award to lose. And then he kind of just lost it through no real fault of his own, right? So we're looking at a situation where we've got Jokic, SGA, and Luka. In my opinion, I know that the NBA leaderboards are saying that Tatum is in this conversation, Giannis is in this conversation. I don't really feel like they're in the same conversation. I think that Giannis is closer. To me, Tatum, when you look at all the advanced metrics, they are just not even close to what Jokic, SGA, and Luka are doing, and even Giannis to a degree as well. So I think this is a 3-man race. I think that with what SGA has been able to do, it's just raw consistency. The dude never scores less than 20. He doesn't really score more than 40 either. But there was some stat the other day. I think he scored 31 points in 11 games this season exactly. So I saw somebody parlayed that out there. That was quite the hit there. But I do think that at the end of the day, this is an award between those 3. And in order for Luka to even really get there, I think the Mavs have to really improve in the West. I think they need to get to at least the 5, if not the 4. And And then it's tough. Like you watch Jokic play basketball, and it's hard to say that there's anybody better in the league right now, like whenever he touches the ball. So to me, I think that it's tough. Everybody's kind of chasing Jokic, but I think that SGA probably has the best shot right now just based on where Oklahoma City is in the standings.
All right, Joe, you're a big player prop guy. I know you got the Quickly one out there. We're aligned there. Anybody else on this Sunday card from a player prop perspective that is jumping out to you?
Yeah, so I got 2 plays. I like Buddy Hield over 3.5 assists. The Philadelphia 76ers, they're obviously without Embiid, but importantly, they're without DeAnthony Melton today as well. In the 9 games that Hield has played with the Sixers, he's averaging 5.7 per game, but in the 7 games that the 6 games rather, he's played without Melton, he's recorded 6+ in all of them. Wow. So this line, it's set at 3.5. You can get that, and you can even grab some 6+ or 5+ at a big plus number. I like Buddy Hield over the 3.5 assists, and I like Rudy Gobert over 12.5 rebounds. It's a good matchup, I think, against Zubac. In the last game that they played back in February, he only got 11 boards, but he had 25 rebound chances, and he pulled down significantly less, like in terms of percentage of his normal rebound chances. So it's a 12.5 here. He's averaging 13 per game at home. I like this spot. You know, he's gone over this in 6 of his last 10 games, along Karl-Anthony Towns as well. So I'll grab Gobert to go over 12.5 rebounds against the Clippers today.
Joe, thanks for joining the sweat, man. We appreciate you, dude. Have a great rest of your Sunday. Coming up next, folks, the Bear Trap swallowing Rory on Saturday at PGA National, sinking his tournament hopes. Still got a 3-way tie atop the leaderboard. Let's find out who Jeff is backing next. in a row at PGA National, folks, that Shane Lowry will play in one of the final two groups on Sunday. It's the tournament formerly known as the Honda Classic, now the Cognizant. Jeff Ulrich, gorgeous golf guru for DraftKings Network, joining us now. Let's break down some of the odds available on the DK Sportsbook. Top of the morning to you, my friend. How about Rory McIlroy giving it a whack there in the water? That was, what the hell was he thinking? If he takes the drop, he doesn't triple the hole, he bogeys it, and he's 2 strokes closer to the top of the leaderboard here. He's the only guy in the top 20 in the world in this tournament.
Yeah, but you know what? This is when you do these silly things if you're Rory. This isn't like the Masters. This isn't the Players. It's not even the AP. It's not even an elevated event. Rory's probably like, yeah, let's just give it a whirl. It's the Cognizant Classic. They're probably paying him to be there. So,
True.
Yeah, I kind of like it. I like the aggressiveness. This is when you're going to try something stupid like that. So, yeah, it was definitely dumb. But, kudos to him for going for it. I like it. It was probably the most entertaining thing we've seen in the tournament. So
it's true.
Good for Rory. I like the fact he was aggressive there. It was not a smart idea, though. For sure. Definitely.
Jeff, I really wanted him to tin cup it when it dropped back, rolled back into the water. I was like, give it another whack, you coward. You won't do it. But he's nowhere.
That was a little disappointing. I'm not going to lie, because I really thought he was going to do that too. I would have done that.
Yeah,
but,
I know.
No, he didn't. He's much more sensible. Like I said, he's just happy to be there.
And Chubbs across the Rainbow Bridge up top was like, dude, be careful because there are definitely alligators in that lake. So
Carl Weathers was looking down and not happy about that. Yeah.
So that mistake may have sunk his tournament hopes. We got a 3-way tie atop the leaderboard here, big man. And again, Lowry's attempting to break this winless drought in the U.S. that extends back to 2015. David Skins is right there. I was yesterday years old when I found out who this 42-year-old was who hasn't made a cut on tour since 2022. Eckroat trying to win his first career tournament in his 50th career start. Who stands out to here atop the leaderboard? I was pushing people earlier. I said my warm-up bet was Min Woo Lee to try to win this thing outright or grab him for top 5 because you look at the top of the leaderboard there, Jeff, and there are not a lot of wins in recent memory among this group.
It's a good point. So a couple points about this event. First of all, it's hard to make up ground on PGA National.
Yeah.
The last winner who came from outside the top 3 was Sung J M. That's one guy over the last decade has come from outside the top 3 at the start of the final round. And Sung J started in 5th. He wasn't that, he was still pretty close. So I'm not saying Min Woo and the guys at 10 under don't have a chance, but I wouldn't be taking a ton of shots.
Oh.
If I was going to go with a guy at 10 under, I think Kevin Yu would be my pick. He's plus 2,200. Kevin Yu, if you look at the ball striking stats, he is right up there. His approach stats are fantastic. He can putt a little bit. We've seen him flash. I think at plus 2,200, his number's just a little bit too big. Min Woo Lee's getting some respect, and rightfully so. He's a really good young player. I won't be shocked if Min Woo Lee wins. I just like the number on Kevin Yu a little bit better. So if I'm going for a long shot, that's where I'm going. My pick is going to be Austin Eckroat, though.
Whoa.
We've seen Eckroat go toe to toe with Jason Day at the Byron Nelson. He's a guy who's, again, really good ball striking. The around the green game hasn't been terrible, and he's putted pretty well. I think Eckroat could get it done, but I think those guys at plus 10 are live. And like I said, if I'm taking a shot with someone, Kevin Yu would be my guy.
I wouldn't hate seeing Andrew Novak hoist the trophy today for personal reasons. You know who really enjoyed that Rory meltdown on the bear trap yesterday, Jeff? Taylor Gooch.
Oh.
Taylor Gooch was absolutely at home sitting. Actually, he wasn't at home. He's in Dubai, where Liv is right now. But he had it pulled up on his phone. He said earlier this week, if Rory goes and completes his career Grand Slam without some of the best players in the world, there's just going to be an asterisk there, referencing not the best players on Liv, even though the best ones on Liv are going to be in the Masters field. So that was a shot at Rory, no doubt. And then Rory taking the high road when he answers back. Listen to this.
Oh, and the asterisk. Look, the Masters is an invitational, and they'll invite whoever they think, warrants an invite. And I think, to be fair to Taylor, I think if you read the entire the question and then the answer, it's not as if he just came out with that. I feel like whoever did the interview sort of led him down that path to say that. So I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt there a little bit. He basically just agreed with what the interviewer asked. But at the same time, Joaquin Niemann got an invite, and I played with Joaquin in Dubai a few weeks ago, and he went down to Australia and won. He was in Oman last week. He's been chasing his tail around the world to try to get this, either play his way into Augusta or show enough form to warrant an invite. And I don't know if the same can be said for Taylor.
I love the end there. Listen, I know Taylor wants to be in the Masters field, but Jeff, how outlandish of a claim was that by him? So I'm counting it up now. 13 live guys will be at the Masters in April. Rahm, Koepka, Bryson, DJ, Reed, Mickelson, Niemann, Smith, Hatton, Sergio Watson, Schwartzel, and Meronk. Like, there will be no need for an asterisk if Rory can win his first green jacket, which we all know. It's like the whole floor is lava meme. If the floor is a green jacket, he's up there, Spider-Man, sitting on the fan. Like, it's just not going to happen.
I'm not sure. Right. The bigger thing here is, like, can Rory actually win at Augusta?
Yeah.
That's the question we should be asking. I mean, I'm not going to give Taylor Gooch the same benefit of the doubt here. Maybe the interviewer did lead him down this path, but he's the one who said the word asterisk, which is just so incredibly dumb that, I mean, it just doesn't warrant the benefit of the doubt. Like, no, there's no asterisks involved. You can go back to every major winner in the past, like 30 years, and find some guy who didn't go there. The year that Dustin Johnson was number one and fell down the stairs and didn't compete, should we put an asterisk there? Should we put an asterisk the year DJ won because it was like played in November? No, we don't do that in professional sports. There's circumstances that come into every major sporting event. So no. The word asterisk was just an incredibly poor choice of words there. If you want to bring up the field and rep for Liv, I get that. I think that's fine. I mean, he plays for Liv. That's who pays his checks. He should be going out there and be like, yeah, some more guys from our tour should be there. But as soon as he used the word asterisk, it was just completely buffoonery. So
for sure,
I don't give Taylor Gooch the same benefit of the doubt, unfortunately.
And we talked on this show a week ago today, Jeff, about Joaquin Niemann receiving the special invite to the Masters, and in less than an hour ago, he wins the latest live event in Dubai, and he finished 7 strokes better than Taylor Gooch. Niemann would not be a bad guy right now to target if you're looking at the Masters, which, by the way, Rory, for some reason, is the second best odds to win that thing, dude. You do have to pay attention to some of these dudes heating up, and I believe Liv plays the week before the Masters, which they've done the past couple seasons, because it is a little tune-up for some of those guys who will suit up at Augusta.
Yeah, certainly if you got a future on Niemann like a couple weeks ago, you're smiling right now. He's down to plus 3,000 on the DraftKings Sportsbook, and he should be. I mean, this is a player it's not like it's his first time at Augusta. He's had some really good results there. He's had some low rounds. Like, he knows his way around the course. It's a dude whose approaches are right up there with the best in the world. He's won on Riviera, comparable course. I would argue this number's probably only going to get shorter. I think as the week rolls on into Augusta, people are going to realize, he's probably in better form than Justin Thomas. He's got an experience advantage over Ludwig Aberg. So, Niemann is just a really talented player. And I think that, it's unfortunate that we've kind of had to forget this just because of where he's played the last year, but certainly credit to him. He hasn't taken the money and just, become Matthew Wolff essentially. Like, he has absolutely kept up his A game, and his A game is as good as anyone's. So yeah, no, Niemann is a player you need to watch. Certainly even at plus 3,000, like I said, you can argue that there's a little bit of value on that number.
All right, Jeff, I know you're a different dude. You live in the woods somewhere at a location that we have no idea in Canada. And so when you can get DK Sportsbook on your cell phone, Jeff, producer Drew was taking a gander earlier in some of the golf markets here. Now listen, the World Putting League, okay? The World Putting League is an actual thing, Jeff. This is the premier professional mini golf league. The season debuted last week. There's 26 competitions throughout the year. Twice monthly matches will occur from March to September here, Jeff. I am 100% in on this. I need to know the percentage that you are in on this right now.
Look, let's talk about this from a bit of a betting perspective. Okay. And can we make money on this? Like, yes, you probably can. I mean, this is a low liquidity market. Again, there's not a ton of people betting the world, what's it called? World Putting League, right?
Yeah.
So the WPL, shout out WPL. But like when you have like low liquidity markets like this, the lines just aren't going to be as efficient. So, and again, shout out to the WPL. They have some YouTube videos you can go watch. They have a Twitter account. You can get some info on the players. There's probably edges to be had here. So right from that perspective, I am in on this. And also, I mean, like, just guys just going around playing mini golf. Yeah, that sounds actually pretty fun to bet on. It's better than watching a soccer match where it's 0-0 through 90 minutes. So,
well, Jeff,
this sounds kind of fun.
It's 0-0, Jeff. It's not 0-0. Get with it. Listen,
and it's not soccer. It's footy. I'm sorry.
Watch it tomorrow on the Pro League Network, by the way. A lot of money to be made on the WPL. A lot of money to be made on the ice. Jeff's going to stick around. We will look back at what went down last night and some great bets to place on the DK Sportsbook today. here on The Sweat. Thanks for returning, everybody. Thank you, Jeff Ulrich, for returning. Just helped you, place some, hopefully, money-making bets on the DK Sportsbook for the Cognizant. And since he does live in the woods in Canada, we bring him on to talk hockey as well. We had you on the show yesterday, Jeff, with Pete Jensen of NHL.com. Some of those big games that we discussed now complete on Sunday morning. We have the Jets here beating Carolina. I think the Jets now, Jeff, are 8-2 in the last 10. I know Anna Dua likes to think this could be the year a Canadian team hoist Lord Stanley. Speaking of that, big win for the Leafs over the Rangers. Panthers are good, really good. Detroit, are they frauds? Yeah. Predators now, 8 straight wins. What was your one main takeaway from yesterday's action?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about the Panthers being good. That result was not shocking to me at all. I really think like that last note you made. I mean, like the Toronto win is big, but the Nashville Predators are looking like a pretty solid team right now. This isn't like the Barry Trotz, like shut them down, 2-1, really boring team. This team has some firepower. They've showed it. I mean, they've scored 4 more goals, and I think it's 6 straight games now. Their offense was clicking. I mean, they just kind of barricaded at the end of the game against the Colorado Avalanche team, who scored 10 goals in the last 2 games. UC Saros is when he's on, he's as good as anyone in net as well. So, I mean, I think the Predators are for real. I think this is a team that you need to take seriously. They've always had some talent up front with like Forsberg and on the back end with Josi as well. So they're clicking at the right time. Are they deep enough necessarily to go all the way in the playoffs? I don't know, but certainly not a team I would want to see in the first round right now. Really, really big win by there. And then again, like Toronto bounces back. Certainly if they get goaltending in the playoffs as well, this is another team in the East, with like Boston looking weak all of a sudden. And, like some other teams struggling. Yeah, that was brutal.
What the hell was that about? Yeah. I forget. Yeah. Who was it who had the hat trick in the first period?
I think it was Palmieri.
Yeah, it was. No. It was. And I think that was his second first period hat trick in his career against the Bruins as well. I don't know what's happening there.
Okay.
Like it's been late game struggles and late game collapses that have been just plaguing these dudes. And yesterday it was opening period, and then they had no life after that, Jeff.
No, I mean, we talked about the Bruins too, as well. I mean, I made mention of them on yesterday's show. Like, this is a team I would be very worried about. And they proved me right off the bat. The goaltending's regressed this year. They do not have Patrice Bergeron to shut down teams at the end of these games. And it's led to some bad third periods. And then yesterday it was just a complete collapse. I do think this is a team that needs to get someone at the deadline, but they don't have cap space. And I'm not sure if they're going to be motivated to do it at this point. It almost feels like it's probably too early to write them off completely, but it does feel like a bit of dead man walking with the Bruins right now. Like they're just, they know they're not good enough. They're probably going to make the playoffs, whatever exactly. But, it's going to be a tough go. So this certainly team's still with talent, but they need to turn things around pretty fast here. The playoffs are coming up quick.
Yeah, as you said yesterday, don't be fooled by that point total because they are not playing at a team that should have that many points. They're not playing at that level. 6 games on today's slate, Jeff, some big teams. Hey, congrats to your Oilers. Our Oilers on getting the win yesterday. They're going to host the Penguins today. Give me your best bet on today's 6-game slate.
I mean, I like going with the Canucks here in all facets. I mean, just from a straight up game perspective, they're taking on the Ducks. Ducks, they got a win in their last home start, but man, I think New Jersey fired 50 shots. This is a big, I like the spot for the Canucks a lot. Elias Pettersson just signed a massive contract. It was kind of like this albatross hanging over the team. They should be looser here. You can get the Canucks still at minus 150 on the 60-minute line. The puck line seems fine here, though. Plus 100 versus the Ducks. The Canucks are a really complete team. They've been in a bit of a slump. I think this contract thing, though, drags them out of it. Playoffs coming up for them, too. They've had such a lead in the West that I think they've just kind of sleptwalked for a bit. But I really like them tonight. Like I said, you can play them however you want. Minus 150 on the 60-minute line. Like that bet quite a bit.
Yeah, a little nervous, though. The Canucks have suffered 3 consecutive road defeats, though, Jeffrey. I do want to ask you a little bit more here about today's slate, my friend, and looking at the Eastern Conference standings right now, especially the wild card standings here. So to make the playoffs, as you go on the DK Sportsbook, Caps, Devils, Penguins falling behind the Lightning and the Flyers in points. Each with a few games in hand, though, those 3 teams chasing all in action today. Now, the Penguins, again, who will face our Oilers this afternoon, lost a 3-1 lead yesterday and dropping yet another game. But each of those three teams I just mentioned, Caps, Devils, Penguins, still plus money to make the playoffs. We talked about it a little bit last week, Jeff. Where is the value among to miss playoffs right now in the DK Sportsbook?
Yeah, I mean, the Penguins, man, are just they just keep shooting themselves in the foot. They've been doing it all season. I mean, obviously the Islanders coming off the big win with the coaching move and stuff, plus 160 looking pretty solid. I would really be looking at the two New York teams. I think that the Devils, another team that just keeps shooting themselves in the foot, the loss to Anaheim, but the Devils are really good. And I think if they just get a little bit of goaltending down the stretch, they could do it. So really, like, the Devils and the Islanders are the two teams I'd be looking at right now. I do think some of those teams, like the Lightning and Red Wings, are vulnerable. Tampa Bay having trouble closing out teams, barely got a win last night against Montreal. I'm not sure if they can keep it up down the stretch. They're pretty thin after their top line. So yeah, I think that, like, the team I like the most there is New Jersey. I think that the team with the momentum right now is the Islanders, right? So the deeper value is probably with the Devils. I really think that team, as they showed last year, when they get it together, they can really get it together and go on a run. But the Islanders have made the coaching change. They've got really good goaltending. And certainly if they go on a streak as well. So Islanders, Devils would be the teams for me. I just don't want anything to do with this Penguins team that just keeps losing games they have in their grasp. And I do think that one of those teams, like Lightning or Red Wings, probably are going to get caught. If I had to choose, it would actually be Tampa.
Yeah, Red Wings getting shut out against Florida yesterday. In the West, though, Jeff, three of the top teams in action, while your Western Conference bet might be one of the other three favorites here. Which of Vancouver, Edmonton, come on, baby, oil me up, and Winnipeg would you jump on right now to go to the Cup final?
Yeah, I mean, all these teams are pretty sound when it comes down to it, right? I mean, obviously the Oilers have been a little bit up and down, but certainly, the Canucks and the Jets going through some extremely strong seasons right now. I can't get there with the Jets. I mean, I think that if you're making an argument just from a number perspective, from a value perspective, plus 1,400 is probably the best. And they have Connor Hellebuck, but I would honestly go with the Oilers. I mean, I just think this is a team when they're on, they're the best team in the league. I mean, they're absolutely right up there with, like, the Panthers, the Avs, for being the best team. And I think that, Stuart Skinner has shown that another year under his belt, the experience factor is going to be helpful. They'll probably get a goaltender at the deadline, or at least I'm praying that they do every night. I just can't get there with the Canucks either. I mean, first time being in this position, it's really tough. I think the Canucks, probably will not necessarily fade in the playoffs, but just have a little bit of trouble, being first time in, like, a top seed. Oilers have been there. Oilers have McDavid. Oilers have a pretty big experience advantage right now. I know the plus 800 is short, but I mean, that's the team I would be backing to go all the way anyways right now.
I miss the days of the 16-game winning streak that yielded an unbeaten January. That was so pleasant, wasn't it?
It was a good time.
All right, game total. Which one do you like tonight?
Yeah, I don't have a ton of hard takes on game totals,
okay.
But I think looking at the slate, it's some pretty interesting games. Obviously we've got, like the late game with, the Sharks and, sorry, I'm just having trouble bringing up my odds right now.
No, it's totally fine. We could talk about something else too if you don't really want to talk about total. If you got a stronger player prop, we can go there. It's totally up to you.
Well, let's just go right to player props because those two I like. So
go.
Yeah, I mean, totals, I don't really have a hard take. I mean, I think that the under in the Edmonton-Pittsburgh game is interesting, but I also like player props. I mentioned the Vancouver Canucks and the Anaheim Ducks. Elias Pettersson over 1.5 points is plus 185. Again, coming off the contract, playing a weaker team like the Ducks that just allowed like 45, 50 shots on net. I like this one quite a bit. I mean, plus 185 here. Yeah, that's a really good number. Pettersson is a player who obviously doesn't shoot the puck a ton, but can really rack up those assists quick. Weaker penalty kill of the Anaheim Ducks. And then Connor McDavid for multiple points as well, plus 105. I'll take the plus money. He scored 4 points against the Penguins in 3 of his last 4 games playing them. He really gets up for playing Sidney Crosby. They're at home. The Penguins played last night and blew another McDavid over 1.5 points. I like that as well, plus money.
couldn't score the first goal for me the other night, but he did score a goal for you, and that's all I care about. Very quickly here, Jeff,
OT.
you got a favorite DFS play for those trying to build a money-making lineup?
I mean, again, like I'll go back to the Canucks. I mean, I just think this is a real breakout spot for them. Pedersen, obviously, I like, but stacking that power play, maybe Brock Bozer and Quinn Hughes as well. I think the Canucks is definitely the team to stack, and Pedersen is a guy I'd be building around for sure.
All right, Jeff Ulrich, it was good to have you here. Looking forward to texting you later as we rage text each other when our guys do not deliver at the Cognizant. Appreciate you.
David Skins wins.
Yeah. Stop that, please. Stop that. All right, one final break to go. Steve Buchanan, yeah, he's still here, people. He's going to return some head-to-head home run hitting markets on the DK Sportsbook that tickles his fancy. final block of The Sweat, everybody. A Sunday morning edition of The Sweat. I'm Emerson Latu. Steve Buchanan, I haven't seen you in an hour.
I actually drove home and came back.
That's great, dude. You can go out and you can maybe do some grocery shopping, hit up the market, because we've got our empty shopping carts with us right now, just off camera, because we're hitting up the MLB markets on the DraftKings Sportsbook once again. You helped us out with some home run totals earlier in this show. You went out, you ran some errands, you've come back, and now returning to the market for some head-to-head home run props. So we're all about taters and piss missiles left and right, presents to the people. First one here, I love this because it's just like star versus star. It just kind of keeps you engaged the entire year.
Right.
Starting with Trout versus Harper.
Yeah.
Like, this is sexy stuff.
No, I like this one a lot too. And if you're not familiar with these type of bets too, you're basically picking which player you think is going to have more home runs during the regular season. So I like taking Harper in this spot here. I mean, we haven't seen more than 21 home runs from Bryce Harper since dating all the way back to 2019. But here's the big thing that I really like for Bryce Harper this year. They're moving him to first base primarily, and this is really going to negate any injury concern that he could possibly have from playing in the outfield. So that means that we could potentially see the most games we've seen from Bryce Harper in a long, long time now. He's a year removed from that elbow surgery that we saw him come back almost a month earlier than expected, and he had a stellar year when he came back. Then we have the other side of the bet here with Mike Trout, who's missed nearly half of the last 3 seasons combined. He's missed 237 games out of a possible 468 for the Angels.
And he is all that is like left there, which I've seen some people on the interwebs who are high on him to mash a bunch of taters because he's just the one remaining guy there. But you make the biggest point of all that some people somehow forget is he's never healthy.
Well, not only is he never healthy, and while people say, well, he's the only guy that you pitch to, well, then there's all the reason more to not pitch to this guy.
Gosh,
that's why you have, because who's going to be batting behind him? Anthony Rendon. He doesn't even want to play.
He hates baseball.
He hates baseball. Why would you not want to pitch to that guy who just wants to go back to the bench and do whatever he is, collect his paychecks and leave? So you have no Ohtani in that Angels lineup anymore. Offers really little protection from Mike Trout at this point. Strikeouts have also been really going up for Trout. Last 3 years, he's been sitting at 28% K rate in the 3 past years here. In his career, he's at 22%. So I think there's a lot of reasons to like Bryce Harper at -110. Give me that guy to have more home runs than Mike Trout this year.
All right, big man. This is what I'm talking about right here. Aaron Judge, Shohei Ohtani.
Yep.
It's almost like with this market on the DK Sportsbook, you almost create like your own home run derby.
Sure.
Which is fantastic. So hook me up. Judge versus Ohtani. Break this down for me right now. I forget who it was we had on the show. Maybe it was you. Maybe it was somebody else who said Ohtani, though, now that he can just, it was Guerin. It was Guerin who I think liked Ohtani to potentially lead the majors in home runs because now all he is doing is just hitting, and he gets into that rhythm, and he's just focused at the plate since he's not pitching this year.
Yeah, and that's something that we really haven't seen from him. And for the odds on these two to be so far apart, this is what really has gravitated me towards Ohtani. If you choose Ohtani to have more home runs than Aaron Judge, you're getting that at +200. But like, Gary said, Ohtani is going to be focusing on hitting the entire year. That could really help bolster not just his hitting overall, but his power numbers. I mean, you can easily pencil him in for 35 plus home runs, barring that he doesn't have an injury that prevents him from hitting. Obviously, if Judge is healthy, he has that 40 plus home run potential. But again, to say that Ohtani is a +200 underdog, that just really is just so far.
Dude,
that's it's not out of the realm.
A little bit on that.
He is somebody that can hit over 40 home runs, and so is Judge. But we talk about a difference in lineups here. Like the Dodgers, there's nobody that you can really let up. The Yankees, obviously Judge is going to be protected in that lineup. But if I'm looking to not pitch to somebody, Judge is the one that I'm looking to maybe skirt around with Ohtani, because then you have so many guys behind Ohtani here. If you use Baseball Savant, which is one of my favorite websites for stats and everything,
you're always on that.
Regardless where Ohtani played last year, he had at least 35 home runs no matter what ballpark he hit him out of in. So I feel like this is a really strong spot to back Ohtani, who's only focusing on hitting +200. Who knows what we see?
Okay. I love this one.
You've loved all of them.
I have loved all of them, but this one especially. You have Narrative Street. Oh,
No,
my
we
God.
don't need to do that.
We're taking a hard left turn. I'm getting whiplash with how hard of a left turn we're taking down Narrative Street right now. Xander Bogaerts and Trevor Story. Xander Bogaerts now out in San Diego, and Trevor Story was the guy the Sox brought in like 2 years ago to essentially replace him here, and then he missed all of last year with an injury, most of it. People are not very high on him around Boston. People really miss Xander Bogaerts, which that contract looks more and more ridiculous.
Yep.
But good for him getting paid. What do you want to do here? Which dude would you back in this head-to-head home run market?
I am going to take Trevor Story at minus 115. Bogarts has never been like a big power guy. I mean, you have to go back to 2019 when he hit over 30 home runs. He hit 33 home runs that year. It's looking more and more that was just like a one-off. It was a kind of an anomaly here. Because aside from that, he hasn't surpassed 23 home runs at any other point in his career. And last year with San Diego, he finished with 19. So I really don't see him exceeding or going over more than 20 home runs. So now it's, well, can Trevor Story go over 20 home runs? And I think that there is a very viable case that you can say so. He's finally healthy. You know, obviously with all the injuries he dealt with last year, we barely saw him. You can really just kind of throw his numbers away from last year because you can't take any stock into that. But in his first year with Boston, Trevor Story was on pace for 28 home runs. Like, everyone wants to say that his numbers were so inflated because he played in Coors Field his entire career before coming over to the Red Sox, and that's very true. Because when he was away from Coors Field, he was getting about 11 to 13 home runs on the road. But that being said, he has a good swing for Fenway Park. He kind of has a swing that's built for Fenway Park. So for him to go over 20 home runs, I think that is very, very viable. And if you're over 20 home runs, I think you're beating Xander Bogaerts at that point in time, because like I said, Xander's never been a guy that has a lot of power going into San Diego, those big ballparks in the NL West. That's not helping his power either. So I think that this is a strong spot to back Trevor Story at minus 115 to have more home runs than Xander Bogaerts.
Story and all of the sad, depressed Red Sox fans here in Boston hoping his third season with the Red Sox will be a charm, because the first two have left plenty to be desired. Let's hit ... cruise control right now and go to the MLB head-to-head home run market on DraftKings Sportsbook. And this one, we're going to focus on O'Neal Cruz and Elly De La Cruz. So two young stars in baseball and two young stars on teams that people get excited about when they start putting it together a little bit. And isn't O'Neal Cruz the exit velocity king?
Yes. Like, I feel like people forget that this guy, O'Neal Cruz, has just stupid home run power.
Yeah.
And like,
he had that injury last year too. That he started off hot, had the injury, kind of fell off the the map a little bit, and people forgot that, Steve.
Yeah, I mean, he only played 9 games last year. He's injured his ankle, was never able to come back from that. But this is somebody who, when he played in 2022, when he came up, he only played in 87 games. In those 87 games, he had 17 home runs. You put him in on a full season at that pace, he's on pace for 32 home runs. We love Elly De La Cruz of what he can do. He's got speed, he's got power. But here's the thing about Elly De La Cruz. His cap on home runs, at least from what we've seen, and unless he can really cut down on the strikeouts, he's about a 20 to 25 home run type of guy. He has really good power. He's going to get you a lot of doubles. He's going to get you a lot of triples. He actually might be someone to take a look at to lead the league in triples, which is 8-1, by the way, for Elly De La Cruz, because his sprint speed matched Bobby Witt Jr. Those are the two fastest players in Major League Baseball last year. So if you want to try to take someone with Elly De La Cruz, I would say maybe look at him at leading the league in triples at 8-1. But O'Neal Cruz coming back healthy. He's looked good so far. I think this is a really strong spot to back him. He's at minus 120 to go have more home runs than Elly De La Cruz. But truly, go back, watch how he was in his rookie year in 2022. He was just hitting some absolute bombs. He's got an amazing swing. And if he's healthy this year, that Pirates lineup is not too shabby, actually. It's really not that bad. I think O'Neal Cruz can edge out Elly De La Cruz in this market here. I think that's a strong spot. And that will be a fun back and forth to watch. Really, all these matchups here. But
they really are.
That one specifically with those young guys, with the power that both players have, the speed that both players have, but I think O'Neal Cruz can edge them out.
I like the big apple option here, like Aaron Judge and Pete Alonso, just dudes across town, just mashing
They have this one
rockets
that's
to the moon.
4. It's Tatis Jr., Vlad Jr.,
I see that.
Bobby Witt Jr., and Bo Bichette. That's a 4 one that you can do. Tatis is in the lead. You can get Bo Bichette all the way up to 22-1 in that market as well. So a lot of markets you can look at for those head-to-head home runs.
All right, man. Good having you back. Nice work. Thanks for
Gotta go
taking
home
us on
again.
a trip around the MLB market throughout yesterday's show and today's show. Jules is still here in studio.
You should've went home.
Thanks for hanging out too, Jules. Really good job today. Way to land us a great guest once
Hey, come
again.
on,
You
come
are
here.
doing.
Say
Come on
goodbye.
over. Come on. Come on, please. People really are demanding you.
Hey,
Oh no!
right when you came on.
You'll never know.
No, they caught you for a split second.